Entrepreneurs should never do their own bookkeeping. It's a bad use of your time. Entrepreneurs are just bad at it. For the first year of my Amazon business, I did my own bookkeeping, spent hours and hours and hours, and just had to pay someone later to redo it all because it was all wrong.
Hey everyone, this is Nazar Akil from Max Pro.
Hi, I'm Linda.
And I'm Paul.
And we're 11 Pebbles.
Hi, this is Lopa Vandermersch from Rasa.
And you're listening to
And you are listening to the E-Comm Show.
Welcome to the E-Comm Show, presented by BlueTuskr, the #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Math.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the E-Comm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Math, and today I am joined by my good friend here, Nathan Hirsch, who is the CEO of EcomBalance, as well as Outsource School, as well as some stuff that he's done in the past, which is actually how we met way back when. But Nathan, how you doing? You ready for a good show?
Yeah, dude, I'm ready. Thanks so much for having me. It's I live in Colorado and we just got destroyed by a snowstorm, so I'm just looking at the outdoors of snow right now.
Is it snowing right now?
Oh yeah, it just started a few hours ago, and all schools are canceled. Everything's canceled, so I'm inside for the day.
Oh, fun. Well, good day to do a podcast, right?
Right.
So I always like to do this, stereotypical start of pretend no one knows who you are and all that fun stuff and tell us about your background, etc. But I'm also super interested because I've known you for a while now. I know you and I met way back when you were the original founder of FreeUp that you then exited, or one of the co-founders, I should say. But why don't you kind of give us a little bit of your background and we'll kick it off from there.
Yeah, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur growing up. I had a lot of jobs. My parents made me responsible for making money and buying my own stuff at a young age. So every summer, every winter, I was always working like errand sales and lease, Firestone, you name it. And I learned a lot about just sales and customer service and working with people and financials. And when I got to college, I started hustling on the side. I started buying and selling people's textbooks, competing with my school bookstore, to the point where I had like a nice little operation going. I had these people going around. I would pay them like a percentage commission. They would go around and get me books. I had lines outside my college dorm room of people trying to sell me their books. And we had this I think it was 8 people to a dorm, but for whatever reason, we didn't have one of the rooms occupied. So that room was just filled with textbooks. So I had this operation going out of my college dorm room. 2008, 2009, this was the early days of Amazon. And at the time, Amazon was just one of the places I was selling these books on. There were all these different bookstores, and I would just pick whatever the highest price was and ship it to them. Amazon started to become the highest price, and I had this seller account, and Amazon was brand new. Well, I ended up getting a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off and stop competing with their school bookstore. Now, the rebel in me wanted to be like, screw it, let's fight the school. But my parents are both teachers, and I didn't really want to get kicked out of college. That would not have gone over well. So I pivoted. I had this Amazon account. Amazon was just starting to get into new things. And I kind of had this idea of dropshipping years before I even knew it was called dropshipping. I said, hey, no one really knows what Amazon is. They have all these other products now. I don't have any money to buy inventory. I don't have any place to store inventory. What if I had other people ship products for me? So I started calling all these different like online e-commerce stores. I don't know if you ever heard of like Major back in the day, or Meyer. I don't know how to pronounce it. Then I started going to like U.S. manufacturers. I never really did China or anything like that, but U.S. manufacturers who at the time, they didn't know e-commerce. They didn't know Amazon. They were just selling to brick and mortar stores. And my little pitch was, hey, I'm good at getting sales on Amazon. All you have to do is keep my credit card on file. I'll send you an email on where to ship the order, or I can check it on your site if there's a way to do that. And you just ship the product where I tell you to. I'll mark it up. I'll make the difference. And that was that. And this blew up. I had to be one of the first 1,000 Amazon sellers drop shipping, especially in the baby and toys category. And this business exploded. Before I knew it, I was selling hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions out of my college dorm room. I I had to start hiring people, and that was just a disaster because college kids were super unreliable. And I remember just banging on people's dorm room trying to get them to wake up and show up for work. And that kind of led me into the VA freelancer space. But that's kind of how I got started, just selling textbooks and then moving on to dropshipping.
So then obviously I know the story continues, which is that was a nice little segue of, I'm sure this is how you started FreeUp. Am I right?
Yeah. So this Amazon business, we sold 25 million over 7 years, but it peaked out at around like 5 million. And these were the good old days where you could do anything on Amazon. There was no PPC. There was no real Amazon software. You listed it and it would sell. And as we kind of, at the beginning, we thought, hey, we're going to take down Amazon. We're going to be the next e-commerce giant. That didn't really happen. Amazon became harder. Their algorithm changed, more competition. And that 5 million became 3 million. And the next year it'd be 3.5. And the next year it'd be 2. And we kind of just found ourselves, instead of growing the business, we were just kind of adjusting to whatever changes Amazon was making every single year. And that became not fun. Meanwhile, we had all these great VAs and freelancers that knew e-commerce. And I started networking with other e-commerce sellers. And I started leasing out these VAs, a lot of which were very seasonal because we were selling baby and toys. So the fourth quarter, we needed a lot of them. And people started really liking that, to the point where Connor, my business partner, and I, we built the website. We came up with the name FreeUp and started to market it a little bit, going on podcasts like these. And this business started to outpace our Amazon business. And it was a lot more fun too, because we were building our own brand. We had our own website. We weren't adjusting to Amazon's rules and regulations there. And so we made the decision to stop the Amazon business. We didn't sell it. We just shut it down and focus on FreeUp. And that ended up being one of our better business decisions early on.
That's amazing. And then obviously, as time went on from that, you did exit FreeUp, correct?
Yeah. Again, timing is a lot. So like Upwork and Fiverr had just gone public and they had started to increase their fees. Now there's a lot of e-commerce agencies and freelancers and all that. That didn't really exist back then. If you were an e-commerce seller, an Amazon seller, and you wanted someone who knew Amazon PPC or knew Amazon listings, you didn't have a lot of options. So we became the go-to. We started partnering with all the people in the industry, whether they had a podcast or a Facebook group or community, you name it. And this business grew. We did $1 million in the first year, 5 million in the second, 9 million in the third, and 12 million in the fourth. Before one of our clients, the Hoth, reached out to us, and Mark Hargrove, David Martin, who buy a lot of businesses, and they essentially said, we like the freelance space. We don't build businesses, we buy them. We use FreeUp. We like FreeUp. We'd love to see if there's an opportunity to acquire you guys. And we kind of heard them out and made us an offer. And we did a lot of due diligence on them to make sure we knew who we were selling it to and that they would treat our clients and our team well. And obviously we didn't want to end up in a lawsuit or anything down the line. And they've been great and kind of honored their word. But that was 4 years of scaling the company before exiting.
Wow. Well, obviously, congratulations. That's awesome. That's usually not the case. I know the story behind that was you started off with very little capital in FreeUp, arguably nothing comparatively to some, and you scaled that up to, I believe, about 12 million before you actually exited annually, correct?
Yeah, so FreeUp, we really started with the minimum viable product. A developer that we had used from our Amazon business created a time clock software that all it did was the VAs could log in and record their hours, and clients could see the VAs on their side. And we had to manually add the VAs to their account. Clients would email me, text me, Skype me. Hey, I need a customer service rep. I need a lister. Very, very makeshift. And we would keep track of all of it in a Google Doc. Billing was very manual. And we just took it to market and started placing VAs and freelancers. And I think what really helped us is whenever you start a marketplace, you kind of always have this chicken or egg situation. Like, do you get clients first or whatever you're supplying to the clients? With us, we had this army of VAs and freelancers from our Amazon business. So we kind of had a head start there of people that we trusted. And then once we ran out of all of them and placed all of them, then we had to build a recruitment team and start getting more applicants and adding it to the platform. But it wasn't until we got to the end of year one that we actually started to invest in our software and hire more people. It was very bare minimum for the first year.
That's awesome. So fast forward now, obviously you're now CEO of EcomBalance, which you're repping on the shirt right now, as well as Outsource School. So what made you, well, A, tell us a little bit about that. And then B, what made you start this business?
Yeah, so we sold Free Up in November 2019. So the original plan was take some time off, travel the world. I didn't think I would see Connor for a year. And shortly after we sold the company, COVID hit and all our plans changed and we had to cancel all our flights. And so we were kind of stuck inside with no business to run, nothing to do. We can only watch so much Netflix and we didn't really have any business ideas. And so a buddy of mine, Nate McAllister, who you probably know in the space, reached out and said, hey, it would really be good, a course on hiring, because obviously you guys are good at hiring. Free Up, for example, had no U.S. employees. We had 30 full-time virtual assistants working out of the Philippines doing everything from billing to customer service to marketing, you name it. Now, there were thousands of VAs and freelancers on the platform. I'm just talking about my internal team. And so we built a course called Outsource School with cracking the VA code, and kind of like all our businesses, we kind of launch it with a minimum viable product. We sold about 50 of them. And if people hated it, we were just going to refund them and move on to something else. But people really liked it and they started asking for more. So we started uploading all of our SOPs to Outsource School, to where now it's a yearly membership. You get access to our hiring process and our SOPs. And we really use that to kind of buy us time to brainstorm and figure out what we want to do next, because running the membership is definitely not a 50, 60 hour a week thing. So we started consulting with different e-commerce sellers, and we learned pretty quickly that we hate being consultants, and I will never do that again. But the common theme was, before we could help people make decisions on their business, we had to revamp their bookkeeping process so we could get accurate data in order to help them make decisions. So that kind of gave us the idea to start a monthly bookkeeping business. We did a lot of market research. We interviewed 100 e-commerce sellers. You can find those interviews on the EcomBalance blog. And like we always do, we launched a minimum viable product. We did a beta run with 25 clients, hired bookkeepers, obviously, because I'm not a bookkeeper and Connor's not a bookkeeper. And luckily that went well. And now we're at the point where we have 100 clients. We're about a team of 10 or 11 bookkeepers. And we just launched a second brand called EcomBalance, which I know you use for non-e-commerce businesses as well. So that's been kind of a fun adventure. We're 1 year in, so we have a lot of work to go.
I was gonna caveat that and be like, I am actually a client of the other side of EcomBalance now, which is essentially, I'm imagining it's the exact same thing, just not e-commerce, correct?
Correct, exactly.
That's the way I look at it. And honestly, like, the whole thing so far has been awesome. I was like, I had a bookkeeper prior to this, kind of outgrew him, and immediately I was like, okay, this is how this is supposed to be run. Even when I go through my numbers and stuff, I'm like, okay, at least I can find things now. So it's fantastic.
Appreciate it.
So you exited, a Free Up. You've had your own e-commerce company. So obviously now that you're kind of in an e-commerce bookkeeping scenario here, what is your opinion, even though you mentioned you're not a bookkeeper, like I'm sure you know more than most at this point because you're running the business. What is your opinion in how sellers should be overseeing their books? And even, like, what's your thoughts on, if they're going to exit, what kind of situation they need to put their books in?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first thought is entrepreneurs should never do their own bookkeeping. It's a bad use of your time. Your time can be better spent on growing your actual business. And even if you have a background, let's say you were a CPA in another life, I would still argue it's a bad use of your time. But also, entrepreneurs are just bad at it. For the first year of my Amazon business, I did my own bookkeeping, spent hours and hours and hours, and just had to pay someone later to redo it all because it was all wrong. And for an entrepreneur to spend time buying a course on e-commerce bookkeeping, to me, that's crazy. I think during our market research, we noticed a lot of bookkeeping companies like selling courses to entrepreneurs on how to do bookkeeping, and it just made zero sense to me. That's not what entrepreneurs should be doing. At the same time, you need to learn how to read an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. That's a good life skill. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can use it for investing in companies or buying stocks. It's something you should learn how to do. But you need to be able to create a good monthly process where the month ends. By the 15th of the month, you get your 3 statements: income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. You never even need to log into QuickBooks, but you have to get those reports on time. And then you should have a meeting on your calendar every single month. And this is a meeting that Connor and I have been running every month for the past 6 years. And at this meeting, this is where you make all the decisions. Bookkeeping is nice because it lets you like file your taxes on time and not extend there. And yes, it can help you sell a company, which we'll talk about. But the main thing that bookkeeping does is it helps you make decisions every single month. You shouldn't be making decisions based on gut or instinct. You should be looking at the numbers, seeing the trends, and that's where you make your decision. So that's kind of how I look at it from an entrepreneur standpoint and how we try to frame EcomBalance. And from a sales side, when Mark and David reached out to us and we had that initial phone call and they asked us a lot of questions, we knew our numbers inside and out because we had that meeting every single month for the 4 years of FreeUp. And so then when they got into the books, everything that we told them on the phone matched everything on the books because we knew our numbers and we had 4 years going back of clean books. And so having clean financials is step one of selling any company. I've yet to meet someone who successfully exited without clean books, but you also need to know your numbers. And obviously there's a lot more to selling it in terms of timing and finding the right buyer and all that.
Yeah. So from an e-commerce standpoint now, you have all these sellers, some of them, whatever happens in the market this year will be very interesting, but you're going to have some that may or may not be looking to either exit or they're looking to kind of, pull back on what they're spending, or maybe they're going to try and fight through whatever we end up dealing with in this market. From an EcomBalance side of things, do you, obviously you mentioned you don't consult, but do you give any kind of insight into, hey, based on your books and based on all of these other sellers that we're working with, here's our opinion? Or are you just like, no, we're going to let you guys make your own decision, which probably is more commendable?
Yeah. So we don't coach or consult. Like, we're not a CFO. Now, you should take our books and go to your CPA and develop a tax strategy and go to your CFO or whoever, your business partner, whoever it is that you're making decisions. But our goal is to put it in a way for you to understand. And the best way to do that is by looking at this month compared to last month and this month compared to the same month last year, and looking at trends like, hey, is payroll going up faster than revenue, or having good segmentation? So you might be selling 5 products, but 2 of them are unprofitable and you're wasting a lot of time there. So and same thing with marketplaces. You might be selling on Amazon Europe, and that might not be a good use of your time depending on what the numbers say. So we're more of providing you clean, broken down data, but it's still up to you to make decisions. And obviously e-commerce is changing, and you've got everything from the economy to like Amazon changing fees and all the stuff that's going there. But it still comes down to making sure that you're growing a real brand and not just thinking yourself as an Amazon seller, and that you understand the actual margins you're making on products, and not getting caught up in some of the fake stuff like your top line revenue that isn't as helpful into actually growing a great business.
So what's your end goal with EcomBalance? So since you got FreeUp, cleared that 8-figure mark, were able to exit it successfully, wanted to take a vacation, but didn't. So what happens with EcomBalance once you've kind of hit, whatever your target is?
Yeah, Connor and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, obviously anything can change and people can come up and make offers or whatever. But we've kind of already gone through an exit. We don't really need the cash, so to speak. And we like the business model. We think that in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, EcomBalance or bookkeeping isn't going anywhere. So we like being in that space, and we think that it'll still allow us to do other adventures as well. And it kind of keeps us in the e-commerce community too, which we really like. So our goal is to grow this bigger than FreeUp. We don't have like an end goal to sell it. We never really had an end goal to sell FreeUp either. It just kind of happened. But we're excited. We have a lot to kind of prove in the space. We're focused on accounts balance and growing that side as well. And we want to be known as the reliable monthly bookkeeping service for entrepreneurs going forward.
Nice. So do you think you'll ever get back into being an e-commerce seller?
I don't, honestly. If I did, it would be like far away from Amazon. And like, I know a lot of people that crush Amazon and all that. I personally just like, I don't know. I don't really like authority. So me being dependent on Amazon's rules and changing on me, I've kind of been through that, and that just doesn't appeal to me as much. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll wake up with some great product idea and that'll change everything.
Oh, I completely agree. I can't deal with Amazon either. It's obnoxious. But Nathan, thank you so much for being on the show. I know you're super busy, so I don't want to keep you any longer than I have to. But obviously, I'd love to give you the opportunity here, let everyone know where they can find out more about you, EcomBalance, and of course, Outsource School as well.
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on any social media channel, Nathan Hirsch. Go to outsourceschool.com, EcomBalance.com, accountsbalance.com. Everything's there, and we have a lot of great free resources. And thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Everyone who tuned in, obviously, thank you as well. Please make sure you rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff, or head over to ecommshow.com where you can see all of our other episodes or whichever podcast platform you prefer. But per usual, thank you all for joining. Nathan, you too as well. And we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the E-Comm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The E-Comm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the E-Comm Show.